Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sync 24 TV. This is the Nationalist Show with Kennedy Abongo. Yesterday, President Ruto was formally inaugurated. I think it was a wonderful day. Uh, it rather also showed that politics just began in earnest yesterday. I'm saying that because so many things came out during the speech time, especially if you consider what the president, if you consider the president's speech and that of the deputy president's speech. So when you look at the two speeches, they were somewhat at cross purposes. People speaking for the same government, but at cross purposes. One was more conciliatory. So the president's speech was more conciliatory, aimed at having everybody's hand on deck, including those in opposition. Uh, if you noted, he also extended a hand of friendship and also appointed in his speech. He ensured that he told the nation that he had offered the outgoing president, President Kenyatta, a job to continue chairing some of the peacekeeping missions that he's been conducting over the course of his term, to continue, doing all those jobs on behalf of Kenya. And he emphasized that that offer was made and the president accepted the offer. If you contrast that with what the deputy president Gachagua speech was all about, then you understand, because his speech was more vindictive. He spoke like a vengeful person, like somebody who is still on the campaign trail. So is the deputy president is being inaugurated, but the anger within could still show. President Ruto was a bit, not really a bit, he was quite measured in his approach. He knew there was a war and that war has been won and is the victor. So he's taking the spoils of war and confident about that, about retaining that seat at least for the next 5 years, and therefore he did not have anything to to spoil his day. He was happy, he was smiling and everything. He did not lament about the past treatment and everything, and he left these things to Gachagua when he spoke first. So it made me wonder at that moment whether that was deliberate, whether he knew what Gachagua was going to say, and it happened with his permission, or he didn't know at all. So what I've come to understand is that all is fair in love, war, and politics. So you begin these things with the end in mind. So the only person who knows the end of all these things is one person, and that is the president, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. He's the only person who understands the end of this thing. He's scripted the whole thing. It is his government, and he knows how he's going to run it. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because, for one, people voted overwhelmingly to send Uhuru home. But his first act was to retain Uhuru as on his corner and gave him a job to continue chairing the regional peacekeeping missions, because, as he said, he's done a commendable job. So he praised the president, or the outgoing president, in that respect, President Uhuru, and therefore he gave him that particular job. More importantly, he said that he had accepted to continue in that particular role, meaning there was some sort of uh, discussion with President Kenyatta before the inauguration day. And I suspect that this offer was made to the president when President Ruto visited him in State House, so that he could, just take him to the State House tour. So when that offer was made, I think discussions were done. It was about 2 hour discussion with the President Kenyatta, and then he accepted the offer to do that. Why did he see it fit to have President Kenyatta continue in that capacity? Two things. President Kenyatta is still very active. He's unlike Kibaki, who retired when at a very advanced age, so he could not walk around or travel so much, and therefore the only option was for him to go home. President Kenyatta is still very energetic and still has a lot to offer in terms of shaping the politics of the nation. So somebody like that, and a former president, you wouldn't want him to be just without any work. You want to keep him busy. So if you don't keep him busy, he'll keep himself busy by keeping your government in check, considering that he's actually the Azimio chairman. So what does that mean? This means that President Ruto wants President Kenyatta to be busy with the regional issues and thereby denying the opposition the critical, play a critical player in President Kenyatta, who has both the finances and also the influence, if I must say, considering that he was a former president now, to organize the opposition in such a way as to, threaten President Ruto's government so much. So another thing which you would want you realize from that move is also in somewhat moving away from his notion of fighting dynasties, because this is a man who came strongly with a message that dynasties were now to be removed entirely from our political system, but retaining President Kenyatta as a representative of Kenya, out to act on behalf of Kenya on these missions, only shows that President Ruto really never intended to follow through with the fights against dynasties, and that is why you also saw him, you know, calling on Right Honorable Raila Odinga and thanking him for all that he's done in his speech. That is some sort of recognizing his contribution, because I think he does not want to come out as is extending a friendly hand to Mr. Odinga, so that he somehow already knows how the end of all this thing is going to be. So he would not want a situation where the two forces, President Uhuru and Right Honorable Raila Odinga, coming together again and trying to oppose his government. Because if the government starts to fail and you have these two people on the same side, that would be a really formidable force. But if you already have President Kenyatta on your side and he is now working away from the country itself, then it is so difficult. It would be very, very difficult for him to keep in touch with the local politics and also participate fully in opposing the government which he is also working for. Because if he is to do that, then essentially would have to say he's recusing himself from all the roles that he's been given by President Ruto. What is, however, funny is that Deputy President Gachagua appears not to have got that memo. And I suspect that not Kenya Kwanza, most of the top politicians did not get that memo. That is a script that only Ruto himself knows, and he himself wrote it, and therefore he understands its end. And that is why when Gachagua spoke for the first time, his inauguration speech, it was so vindictive. He would call, his speech was really against President Kenyatta, so much so that a lot of Kenyans felt it was a big embarrassment and a letdown at that, because we had dignitaries coming from outside, and he spoke in a way that you thought only a person who is in a campaign trail would speak, because he is not graduated from the campaign euphoria type of speech to now the national type of speech, which we saw with Ruto. Ruto no longer calls uh, Raila's Bwana Kitendawili, all those things. He's now calling him by his name, which is now very, very respectable. He's showing that he's now won this war. Now we have to now leave politics aside and now come back to normalcy, and build a country. Gachagua appears not to have got that memo. And why so? It is because Ruto wants Gachagua for one thing. He's going to be an attack dog. An attack dog is would simply mean that Ruto himself does not want to spew the harsh personal and public verbal attacks on people like President Kenyatta, people like Raila Odinga, all those people. Somebody, however, has to do that work so that these people could be kept in check. Ruto, being presidential and a symbol of national unity, would not want to do that. He would want to maintain his presidential stature and let Gachagua fight all these fights. So Gachagua will play the role of a sweeper in football or an attack dog, as I was saying. So for him, it's just to tidy things here and there, and that would include attacking people who may be seen as a danger to the administration, because those Ruto would not want to do that himself. So it appears, therefore, to me that President Ruto is not only hell-bent in making Gachagua look so bad, because the people will hate on Gachagua, but the president. That is why he's there. He will take the fault on everything. And that started yesterday. When he gave his speech the first time and the way he was vindictive about it, the news that came out was that the president took a more reconciliatory turn, and Gachagua, a lot of people, in fact, Kenyans, including, from both sides, supporters of both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, really spoke against how his speech and told him off for being vindictive, because his speech was not in any way that of a leader who wants to unite the nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the game plan that President Ruto has. He must have an attack dog, somebody who protects him from the perceived enemies. Being the national leader, he does not want now to spew words which may, affect a section of his people, because he understands that the country is literally divided into two. So he would not wish to have a situation where he affects others by just engaging in small time politics. That marks the end of our analysis, ladies and gentlemen. We ask you to subscribe, click that notification bell, and share these videos. You can also leave a comment so that you know what you think about these videos. Thank you.